From demonic children to haunted houses, here are two terrifying horror stories that will keep you up at night. Number 2, The Doll in the Attic. When my brother-in-law, Jim, was 14 years old, he went to stay at his friend's house for a few days. One night, he was getting ready for bed when he noticed something strange in the attic room he was staying in. In the corner was an antique rocking horse that looked like it had come straight out of the movie The Ring. It had dirty blonde hair that hung over its face. Its eyes were hollow and stared directly at him. He could have sworn the thing moved just slightly when he entered the room, but he pushed that thought out of his mind. He didn't want to start thinking about supernatural things again. A year earlier, he and his father had been clearing out his late grandfather's house when they came across a locked wooden chest. They eventually found the key and opened it only to find stacks of old photos and letters, along with a diary. As they went through the diary, they realized it belonged to Jim's great-grandmother. And many of the entries talked about her son, Jim's grandfather, who was born in that very house in the early 1900s. But one entry in particular caught their attention. It read, "Thomas is acting out again. I can't control him. Put him in the rocking horse, and he calmed down. Maybe if I leave him in there long enough, he'll sleep." Below that entry was a faded picture of a little boy dressed in 19th century clothing. It was clear from the picture that the boy had special needs and wasn't well understood or cared for back then. Jim and his dad felt a chill down their spines as they realized the rocking horse they had found wasn't just an antique. It was the very same one from the diary entry. They took it home and stored it in the attic room. A few weeks later, Jim was called to his grandfather's house again, this time to help his uncle pack up the attic. While sorting through some boxes, Jim saw a familiar diary. He opened it to find the same faded picture of the boy he had seen in the other diary, along with a handwritten note that said, "Don't let Thomas out." Before Jim could think about what it meant, he heard a loud crash from the other room, then a series of screams. His uncle ran in, pale as a sheet, and said, "I knew I should have burned that thing." Grabbing the diary and the photo, Jim ran out of the house with his uncle close behind him. They got in the car and drove away without even looking back. At his own house that night, Jim decided to look through the diary again, found more disturbing pictures of the boy, as well as more diary entries describing his odd behavior. But the most frightening entry simply read, "He's free now." Terrified, Jim got into bed, but couldn't stop thinking about the boy. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined the boy's angry face staring back at him. Just as he was about to fall asleep, he heard a knock on his window. He opened it to find the rocking horse standing outside. Its eyes glowed red in the moonlight. And suddenly he remembered the crash he and his uncle had heard at the other house. It hadn't come from the attic. It had come from the room where the rocking horse had been kept. As if to prove it, the horse began rocking back and forth on its own. Then it started to speak in a voice that sounded like nails on a chalkboard. "Let me in," it rasped. "Please let me in." Jim slammed the window shut and bolted it. To this day, he keeps the diary and the rocking horse in his attic, where he has nailed the window shut, so the boy won't escape and take his revenge. Number 1. The House That Screamed. My cousin Laura grew up in a big house with her 2 brothers and parents. Even though it was just an old Victorian house, she always felt like it was watching them. Whenever she walked past a mirror, she'd catch a glimpse of an old woman standing behind her, but when she turned around, the woman was gone. She told her family about it, but they just laughed and said it was her imagination. When she told them about the old woman, they all agreed that it was probably just the ghost of one of the house's previous owners. But one day things took a turn for the worse. Laura and her brother were playing hide-and-seek when their mother screamed from the top of the stairs. They both ran to see what had happened. To their horror, their mother was lying on the stairs with a knife sticking out of her chest. Now she looked at them with wide, unblinking eyes and blood poured out of her mouth. They ran to the phone to call 911, but the line was dead. Every time they tried to dial another number, the call wouldn't go through. Then the lights flickered and died, plunging them into total darkness. Suddenly, the front door flew open and slammed against the wall. They could hear footsteps coming down the stairs, heavy, slow, and deliberate. Whatever was making them was dragging something behind it. Just then, a flashlight appeared in the darkness, followed by their father's concerned face. "What happened?" he asked. They pointed to their mother, who was still kneeling on the stairs as if waiting for something. Their father screamed and backed away, knocking the flashlight out of his hand. It rolled toward the base of the stairs, illuminating their mother's face once again. And that's when they noticed something strange. The knife had disappeared, but now there was a new wound on her chest, right next to the first one, as if whoever had stabbed her had done it again. Their father picked up the flashlight and examined the wound. "She's still alive," he whispered in disbelief. They raced downstairs and out the front door where their father had parked his truck. They piled into the back, and he sped away from the house. Looking back, they could see the house silhouetted against the moonlight, and it seemed to be screaming at them. In the morning, news broke that Laura's mother had been found dead in the house. The police had no suspects, and the case went nowhere. Laura's father refused to go back to the house, so they all had to move in with him, but the house continued to haunt them. Whenever Laura closed her eyes, she could see her mother's lifeless eyes staring back at her. She could also hear her mother's screams echoing through her dreams. One day, Laura was going through her mother's things when she came across a hidden box. Inside, she found old journals filled with strange symbols and writings. One page in particular caught her eye. It was a list of rules written in her mother's handwriting. And the first rule was, never keep a secret in the house. That's when Laura realized what had happened. Their mother hadn't been murdered by a person, but by the house itself. The house was a conduit to another dimension where evil spirits lived, and it used their secrets against them. The reason the phone lines and internet were cut that night was because the house was trying to prevent them from calling for help. The reason their mother died in the house was because she had kept a secret in it for too long. And as for the house, it watched patiently for its next victims. Laura never went back to that house, but the memories of that night continued to haunt her to this day. Do you believe these terrifying tales? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to hear more scary stories, check out the playlist. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.